Welcome back to TMZ Live. The Congress has revealed the impeachment hearings now have unfolded, and we now know exactly what they're going after the president for. Two articles of impeachment. They're basically saying
corruption and obstruction of justice.
He abused his power.
Yeah.
And obstructed Congress in the investigation into what happened with the Ukraine. So
I've actually had some time to really think about this since I had a few days off, and I've got a couple of things that have been in my head about how this plays out, and not just in the short term. So we wanted to see
how the impeachment plays out?
Politically, how it plays out in all sorts of ways. So we wanted to get somebody from the Judiciary Committee on the show today, and we're lucky enough to have Representative Karen Bass from California.
Right here in California.
And she joins us right now. Congresswoman, welcome to TMZ Live.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So this was a bold day for the Democrats, for sure. Not only issuing these articles of impeachment, but also really announcing a big policy change that could be an important step in trade. I want to get into this impeachment thing, and I want to ask you a couple of questions. A lot of Democrats are saying that they have to do this, and even if Trump gets reelected as a result of this, it would be worth it because that's your duty. My question...
Yeah, I don't feel that way.
You don't?
No. One, I think it is up to us whether he gets reelected. But let's just talk about impeachment for a minute. The reason why I feel it's so urgent, different than the Mueller report. The Mueller report was very significant. 10 examples of him obstructing justice. But the Ukraine situation is an example of him in the middle of committing a crime. So he's robbed the bank and he's driving down the street with the money. And the money is the election in 2020. So he was directly trying to cheat on the next election. And as a matter of fact, he still might be trying to cheat. I know that Rudy Giuliani is over in the Ukraine. I don't know what he's doing, except for I guess he's still going after the conspiracy. But that was the urgency. We had to do something to put the brakes to the best of our ability with the only tool we have is to send a message to him that he is not above the law and he cannot and should not intervene in the next election.
So you've got a situation where it's very clear. I mean, I think what you're saying is the currency that Donald Trump used was not money, it was power. And I get it. But if, after all you've done, the American people re-elect Donald Trump, what would that say to you about the American people?
Well, I guess I am ultimately an optimist, and I believe that the 2020 election, assuming we can stop him from trying to cheat, is in our hands. And so I think it's our responsibility to turn people out, and I feel very positive about that. If we didn't impeach him, that also creates a tremendous amount of rage amongst people, like in our city, for example, of Los Angeles.
If people were angry that he wasn't impeached, then their way of getting him out of office is to actually be encouraged to get to the polls and vote. But now, I guess the flip side of that is impeaching him, and then he's not going to be thrown out of office. We know that the Senate isn't going to do that. So he gets impeached, but he still stays in power, and that energizes him with his base to say, they can't get rid of me. They tried, but they can't get rid of me.
You are right. That is a scenario. However, if he is not thrown out of office, and I do think there is a possibility in the Senate, and I'll explain that in a minute, then people like me are going to use that energy to say, this is why we have to take back the Senate. And we have vulnerable senators, and, we only need a few seats. But there is one scenario, it's far-fetched, but it is possible, and that is a secret ballot. If they had a secret ballot over there in the Senate, which they have the power to do, if they had a secret ballot, I think he'd be gone in a minute, because the sad thing about my Republican colleagues is they know how bad this president is. They know he violated the law. They just defend him because if they don't defend him, then he attacks them. And they're afraid of losing their seat.
He's not going to get convicted. He will get impeached. So I want to pose this to you, Congresswoman. I've been thinking about this for the last couple of days. I did some research. There's no such thing, really, as double jeopardy in an impeachment trial because it's political. So
Exactly.
okay, so I want to give you a scenario because
Yes.
you are a very influential member of Congress. So here's my scenario. Suppose Donald Trump gets, he's going to get impeached. He's not going to get convicted. Suppose he gets reelected, but you're right, and you win back the Senate in a big way. If you did that, would you be inclined to take a second bite of the apple and reintroduce the exact same impeachment articles and then send it through again a second time if you have a Democratic Senate on your side?
Yes, but I don't think it would be exactly the same. And here's why. Because even though we're impeaching him, now, there's still a number of court cases. There's a ton of information that could come forward. For example, we could get his bank records and find out that he's owned 100% by the Russians. So you are absolutely right in your scenario. But the only thing I would say slightly different is that it might not be the same articles of impeachment because the odds are we'd have a ton more information. And then the odds of that, sadly enough, is that, he probably has other examples of criminal behavior.
Yeah.
This is not a
It's
day
going
to
to be.
celebrate in Congress. It really isn't. This is a sad situation. The third time in over 240 years in our history that we feel a president is so bad that we actually have to impeach him. Now, my Republican colleagues say we're doing that just because we hate him. If it was just a matter of hating him, we could all wait 11 months. That's not the issue here.
Well, it's a momentous week for sure, and we really, really do
Thank you.
appreciate you giving us the time.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on anytime.